It might be kind of hard to believe while I'm in this lush green forest surrounded by new growth vegetation, but we are actually in the heart of wildfire season for the Pacific Northwest. The months of August and September are the most dangerous months to hike, and ironically, they're the most popular months to get out there on the trail. Today I want to talk about wildfires and some wildfire safety tips to help you prepare for your next backcountry adventure, prevent entering areas that are closed due to wildfire restrictions, and better, how to prepare in the event that you do run into a wildfire on the trail. It shouldn't be a great mystery why summer hiking in the Pacific Northwest is so popular. The wildflowers are in full bloom, the berries are starting to ripen, and the weather is absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, with this beautiful weather and peak hiking season, that also brings a lot of inexperienced hikers out onto the trail. And unfortunately, with that inexperience, there's a few mishaps along the way, and we tend to have some more wildfires started by humans. As a matter of fact, 95% of the wildfires are actually started by people. They're not intentional. They're typically an accident that somebody was unaware was even happening in the first place. And that's why we need to put a little bit of extra planning and preparation into our adventures to make sure we're being safe and we're being good stewards of this beautiful place. I know I talk about planning and preparation a lot, and it's important on any hike or any backcountry adventure to do your planning and preparation before you head out. During wildfire season, there's a couple other resources we want to look at to make sure that there aren't any trail closures or active fires in the area we plan on hiking. Now, there are some fantastic paid sources, right? If you're using All Trails or OnX Backcountry, they do a great fire watch, and you'll actually see on their trail map areas of closure or potential active fire concerns. There's also free resources for the more frugal hiker out there. The WTA, Washington Trail Association, runs a free website that gives you up-to-date readings on any trail closures or fire closures or active prevention areas. You can also go to the DNR website. Washington State DNR will focus on Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. Your state of choice, there's going to be local websites you can use. Then, if you're a PCT thru hiker, PTC.org is a phenomenal free website dedicated to helping thru hikers on their adventure. And it's going to notify you of trail closures, detours, or alternate routes that you might need to take in the event that you're going to be hiking into a fire zone. So whatever resource you choose, just make sure you do a little bit of extra research, check the area you're going to be hiking in, and make sure there aren't any active fire concerns before you head out on that adventure. Hiking apps and trail websites are a fantastic resource, but I would highly recommend you bring a paper map along with you on any backcountry adventure. You don't want to find yourself in an area where you've lost cell signal or satellite signal, and you can't download your maps correctly. Then you find that you're in a bit of a panic because you haven't done enough planning and preparation to know where your escape points are. If you carry a paper map with you, you can print them off yourself. You don't need to buy an expensive one, but print off a paper map and review the route you plan on hiking and look for different escape routes in the event that you do run into a wildfire. Now, many hikes are out and back hikes, which means there might only be one way in and one way out of wherever you're going. So in events like that, what you're going to want to do is look for potential areas where you could do a little bit of trailblazing and find a quicker exit strategy. It's always recommended to look for bodies of water. Lakes, rivers, creeks, swamps, any form of water is going to be a great resource in the event that you find yourself trapped in a wildfire situation. So let's say we've done all of our planning and our preparation, and we headed out on our backcountry adventure. And while you're out there, you still unfortunately ran into a wildfire. Rest assured, wildfires are actually rather easy to predict if you know the area you're hiking in. A fire is typically going to move at a faster pace uphill than it will downhill, and fires obviously need an ignition source. Dense forests with a lot of underbrush are going to be more likely for the fire to spread. Open meadows or rocky areas are going to be a little bit safer because there won't be as much ignition source for the fires. Remember, where there's smoke, there's fire. If you see smoke in the distance, stop and check your surrounding area. The smoke's going to tell you a lot about the fire before you put yourself in that dangerous situation. You're going to want to watch the smoke and see which direction the wind is pushing it. That's going to be an indication of which direction the fire is also going to be going based off of the wind patterns. Never run towards a fire if you've got an alternate plan. What I like to always do on my hikes is keep an eye out for open areas along my trail. In the event I run into a fire, I'm going to think to myself, where was the last open space that's going to be in the opposite direction of the fire? And that's where I'm going to head. It may be something as simple as an open meadow in the tree line, or hopefully a river or a creek bed that we can get to. Whatever your resource is, you're going to want to head towards that water or head towards that opening as quickly and safely as possible. One of the best things you can do if you encounter a wildfire on the trail is notify the authorities as quickly and safely as you possibly can. If you're using a smartphone or a Garmin type device, you're going to want to check your location. It's going to pull your coordinates up. Use that when you talk to the authorities so you can give them very specific information. In the event you find yourself out of cell signal, if you have a newer iPhone, those also have an SOS satellite function, and they're going to work fantastic nearly anywhere in the Pacific Northwest. So identify your coordinates, notify the authorities. There are local phone numbers you can call, but the easiest thing to do is just to dial 911 and tell them where you are and what you've encountered. Earlier I mentioned that 95% of wildfires are actually man-made. Well, that's just the sad truth. They're not intentional, but they happen because of inadvertent accidents people aren't prepared for. It might be something as simple as a cigarette butt tossed out the window, or a campfire not fully extinguished, or just embers getting away from the camper. For example, the area I'm hiking in today, they've actually put a restriction on all campfires and cooking fires. There are no open flames allowed. That goes for tinder boxes, alcohol stoves, solid fuel stoves, gel stoves. There is no cooking allowed. Now they do make an exception for overnight hikers or through hikers, where you can use a compressed gas stove, as long as it has an on and off switch where you can immediately shut off the fuel supply in the event of sparks or the fire gets away from you. I would highly recommend to do that extra research. Make sure you understand the area you're hiking in and what the restrictions are. This is also a great time of year to maybe practice some cold soak techniques. This is by no means a fully exhaustive list of the do's and don'ts and best practices of hiking in wildfire season. But I do want to make sure I'm emphasizing the importance of doing your research and understanding what you're getting into before you head out into the backcountry on an adventure during wildfire season. If you want to get more information about specific best practices, I highly recommend you go onto the Washington Trails Association website. I'll leave a link in the description, or the PCT website. Both are phenomenal resources and have some very specific best practices that anybody can use to help improve the safety and enjoyability of their hiking time this time of year. So until next time, folks, let's be safe, but I hope to see you out there on the trail. Let's go for a walk.